Strategy. It's one of those words, right? We hear it literally
Well,
everywhere.
absolutely everywhere.
We talk about strategic planning in boardrooms. We talk about strategic voting in elections, maybe even being strategic about where you sit at Thanksgiving dinner.
Right, to avoid that one relative who always wants to argue politics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if I really pressed you right now, if I put you on the spot and said define it, what makes a decision strategic versus just, a regular decision? What would you say?
It's a fantastic question to kick things off with. Because, frankly, most people get it completely wrong.
Yeah.
We tend to use strategy as just this fancy synonym for ambition or planning. We think, I have a plan to lose 10 pounds, and we call that a strategy.
But it isn't.
Usually, no. True strategic thinking is a very specific beast. And it's a lot trickier than just having a goal.
Which is exactly why today we're doing a massive deep dive into what is arguably the Bible of this entire subject.
We're unpacking thinking strategically.
Game Theory for Business, Politics, and Everyday Life by Avinash, Dixit, and Nalebuff. And I know as soon as I say the words game theory, some of you listening are gripping the steering wheel a little tighter.
For sure. You're having flashbacks to a college economics class you barely passed.
Or you're picturing the movie A Beautiful Mind. Russell Crowe intensely drawing math equations on window panes.
And look, those window panes and those Cold War generals, they were a part of the history.
Yeah.
But the mission of this deep dive is to completely dismantle the idea that game theory is just for mathematicians.
Or military commanders.
Right. The reality, and this is really the central thesis of the source material, is that you are a strategist whether you like it or not.
Whether you like it or not. I mean, that sounds vaguely threatening.
It's just the reality of living in a society. Every single time you make a choice where the outcome depends not just on what you do, but on what someone else does in response to you, you are in a game.
You were doing strategy.
Yes. If you're negotiating a raise, you're in a game. If you're just trying to merge onto a busy highway, you are in a game.
So before we get into the complex stuff, and we have some really cool counterintuitive stuff today, the authors draw this vivid distinction. I think it sets the stage perfectly.
The lumberjack and the general.
Yes. The difference between a lumberjack and a general.
This is the foundational metaphor. If you want to improve your strategy IQ, you have to know which one you are in any given moment. So picture a lumberjack.
Okay, I'm picturing it. Plaid shirt, beard, holding a chainsaw.
He's standing at the edge of a forest. He has a job to do, chop down a tree. Now, think about his decision-making process. It is complex, right?
Sure, he has to evaluate the wood density, check the wind direction.
Exactly. He has to calculate the angle of the cut so the tree doesn't fall on his truck. He has to decide which saw to use. It's a highly skilled task. But, and this is the critical part, is the tree plotting against him.
I mean, unless it's a haunted forest in a fantasy novel, no. The tree is just standing there.
The tree is neutral. The tree does not care if it gets chopped down. It isn't looking at the axe and thinking, oh, he's coming from the left, so I'm going to lean my weight to the right to trap his saw.
Right.
The environment is passive. That is a non-strategic situation.
Okay, so the lumberjack represents any situation where you are just solving a problem against nature. Or physics. Or just a static environment.
Precisely. Now, swap the lumberjack for a general. The general is planning a battle. He looks at the map. He sees a hill. He thinks, I should take that hill.
But unlike the tree, the enemy general is on the other side of that hill.
And the enemy general is intelligent. He has his own goals, specifically to destroy you. He is actively trying to anticipate your move and counter it.
So the general can't just say, I will go up the hill.
No.
Yeah.
He has to think, if I go up the hill, the enemy will see me. So he will probably set up artillery in the valley. So maybe I should fake a move to the valley first.
And that is the shift. That's the difference between having a skill like the lumberjack and having a strategy.
The general has to think about the other. He has to treat the opposition not as a variable, but as a purposive player. And what we are going to find today is that most people go through life acting like lumberjacks when they're actually in the middle of a war zone.
We act like the world is neutral when it's actually reacting to us.
Spot on.
All right, so here is the roadmap for today's deep dive. We are going to improve everyone's strategy IQ by looking at some incredible stories. We have sports legends like Larry Bird.
We have the high-stakes world of America's Cup sailing.
We have nuclear standoffs. And we have a college football game that came down to a single, highly controversial decision.
We will break this down into a few sections. First, we will look at some myths about performance, situations where our intuition is just totally wrong.
Then we will tackle the famous dilemmas of cooperation, like the prisoner's dilemma.
And finally, we're going to learn the actual rules. Rule 1, Rule 2, and Rule 3 that the authors say should guide every decision you make.
Let's jump right into part 1. The myths of performance and the art of copying. Because this first story, I have to be honest, I struggled with this one.
As a sports fan, I imagine.
Yeah, this felt like a personal attack on my religion. We were talking about the hot hand.
Oh, yes. The hot hand. It is completely embedded in the DNA of sports. You're watching a basketball game. Steph Curry, or back in the day, Larry Bird, hits a three-pointer.
Then he comes down and hits another one, then a third. The crowd goes wild. The announcer is screaming. He's heating up. He is unconscious. Feed him a rock.
And you feel it. As a viewer, you feel like, okay, he's in the zone. The basket looks like the ocean to him right now.
The intuition is that because he made the last 3 shots, the probability of him making the 4th shot is higher. He has the hot hand.
It feels incredibly real.
Yeah.
But the authors introduce us to some heavy hitters from the world of psychology.
Yeah.
Gilovich, Volony, and Tversky. In the 80s, they decided to stop trusting the feeling and actually look at the data.
They studied the Philadelphia 76ers, right?
They did. They looked at thousands of shots.
And what did they find?
They found that the hot hand is a complete myth. Statistically, a player is actually less likely to make a shot after a hit than after a miss.
Wait. Less likely. That doesn't make any sense at all.
I know.
If I flip a coin and it comes up heads, the next flip is 50-50. It doesn't become less likely to be heads just because I got one.
Well, in a pure random scenario, yes. But in basketball, the data showed no evidence of streaks that couldn't be explained by simple chance. It is what psychologists call the clustering illusion.
The clustering illusion.
Right. If you flip a coin enough times, eventually you will get 5 heads in a row. It doesn't mean the coin is hot. It just means randomness sometimes looks like a pattern.
Okay, so the psychologists are basically saying we are just seeing shapes in the clouds, that we are deluding ourselves.
That was the scientific consensus. But here is where thinking strategically flips the table. The authors, Dixit and Nalebuff, say, hold on, the psychologists are treating basketball like a lumberjack problem.
Like the player is just shooting against a neutral environment.
Exactly. They are analyzing the shooting percentage in a vacuum. But basketball is a strategic game played against an intelligent opponent. Think about it. If Larry Bird hits 3 shots in a row, does the defense just stand there and watch?
No way. If Bird hits 3 in a row, the coach calls a timeout. The defense starts screaming, don't let him shoot. They double team him. They deny him the ball.
Precisely. The environment reacts. The defense adjusts to the hot hand. They make the next shot significantly harder.
Ah, I see where this is going.
So let's say Larry Bird really is hot. Let's say his skill level has temporarily jumped up by 20%. But because the defense is now swarming him, the difficulty of the shot has also gone up by 20%.
So the 2 factors cancel each other out.
Right. His shooting percentage might stay the same or even drop, which makes the psychologist think the hot hand doesn't exist. But the only reason it looks that way is because the defense is frantically trying to stop it.
That is such a cool distinction. The psychologists see the stats and say, no hot hand. The game theorist sees the exact same stats and says, the hot hand is being neutralized by strategy.
And there is a second layer to this, which is the teammate effect. If 2 defenders are chasing Larry Bird because he is hot, what does that mean for the other 4 guys on his team?
It means someone else is wide open under the basket.
Exactly. So Larry Bird's hot hand might not show up in his personal stats, but it shows up in the team's overall success. By drawing the fire, he creates easy opportunities for everyone else.
That is strategic thinking, looking at the whole system, not just the individual shooter.
The authors also mentioned this fascinating detail about Larry Bird practicing his left hand that I thought was just brilliant.
Yes, so Bird was right-handed, dominant right hand, but he spent an insane amount of time in the offseason drilling his left-handed shot.
Now, a skeptic might say, why? Why waste time on your B game when you could perfect your A game?
Right. Why be a mediocre lefty when you can be the absolute best righty in history?
But think about the defender. If Bird can only go right, the defender knows exactly what to do. He overcommits to the right side. He blocks that lane.
He acts like the general. He anticipates.
But if Bird becomes dangerous with his left hand, the defender suddenly has a dilemma. He has to play balanced. He cannot cheat to the right anymore. And because the defender has to back off and play straight up,
it opens up the right hand again.
Exactly. By improving his weaker hand, Bird wasn't just getting better at going left. He was strategically forcing the defense to give him back his right hand. He used his weakness to protect his strength.
I love that. It is not just about getting better. It is about managing how your opponent perceives you.
Correct.
Okay, let's move from the hardwood to the high seas, because there's another story here that really illustrates the difference between what feels right and what is strategically right. We are talking about the 1983 America's Cup.
This is a legendary moment in sports history. You have the American boat, Liberty, skippered by Dennis Conner, and you have the challenger, Australia II. Now, context is key here. The New York Yacht Club had held the America's Cup for 132 years.
132 years, that is not a winning streak. That is a dynasty.
It was the longest winning streak in the history of sport. So the pressure on Dennis Conner was unimaginable. He did not want to be the guy who lost the cup after a century.
So set the scene for the final race for us.
It is the deciding race. Winner takes all. They are out on the water. The wind is tricky. Dennis Conner breaks out to a lead. He is ahead of the Australians.
Okay, so he is in the driver's seat.
He is. But in sailing, the wind is everything. If you catch a good gust, you fly. If you hit a dead spot, you essentially park. The Australians are behind, so they're desperate. They decide to take a huge gamble.
What do they do?
They attack, which means they turn the boat way over to the left side of the course. They're hoping to fight a wind shift over there.
Now, Dennis Conner has a decision to make. He is leading. He sees the Australians go left. Does he follow them? Or does he stay on his own course on the right?
His lumberjack instinct, if you will, says, I am in the lead. I am sailing fast. I should just sail my own race. Why should I follow those guys? I will stick to my plan. So he stays right. And it was the wrong choice. The wind on the left shifted. The Australians caught a massive lift. They surged past Conner. They won the race, and they ended the 132-year winning streak.
Wow.
Conner became the most hated man in sailing for a while.
Ouch. But why was staying on his own course a mistake? It feels like focusing on yourself is generally good advice.
Not in a winner-take-all game where you are ahead. Think about the mechanics of sailing. If Conner follows the Australians, if he plays copycat, he is putting himself in the exact same wind they are in.
Okay, so if the wind is great on the left,
then the Australians go fast, but Conner also goes fast. Since he started ahead, he stays ahead.
And if the wind is terrible on the left?
Then the Australians slow down, but Conner also slows down, and he still stays ahead.
I see. By copying them, he guarantees that the distance between them stays roughly the same.
Exactly. When you are the leader, your goal isn't to be fast. Your goal is to be unpassable. You want to neutralize the variance. By splitting away from them, Conner allowed the environment, the wind, to decide the outcome.
He turned it into a coin toss.
He did. If the wind was better on the right, he wins big. If it's better on the left, he loses. But why flip a coin when you have already won?
That is a profound lesson for business, too.
Oh, absolutely. We see this with tech giants all the time. People complain, why does IBM or Procter & Gamble or today, why does a major social media platform just copy everything a startup does? Why aren't they creative?
Yeah, you see new features cloned constantly.
It is not because they are lazy. It's because they are Dennis Conner with a lead. They are the market leader. If a small competitor finds a magic wind shift, a new product feature that users love, the leader is at risk. By copying it immediately, they neutralize the threat.
So if the feature works, the leader gets it too. If it fails, they both fail, and the leader keeps the market share.
Exactly. Innovation is the strategy of the underdog. If you are behind, like the Australians, you have to take risks. You have to go to the left side of the course. You have to differentiate.
But if you are winning,
be a copycat. It's boring, but mathematically, it is the dominant strategy.
I feel like we just justified a whole lot of corporate bureaucracy.
Sorry about that, but it's the truth.
All right, let's move into part 2, dilemmas of cooperation and intransigence. We've talked about competing, but what about when we have to or should work together? This brings us to probably the most famous concept in all of game theory.
The prisoner's dilemma.
Yes, you really cannot do a deep dive on strategy without this, but the authors tell this story with a specific Soviet-era joke that I think captures the absurdity perfectly.
Like Conductor and Tchaikovsky.
Right. So picture this. It is the Stalin era. A freezing cold train station in Moscow. The KGB is everywhere. A conductor is sitting on a train reading a music score. Tchaikovsky's violin concerto.
Suddenly, the KGB bursts in. They grab him. They think the musical notes are a secret code.
Classic
They
paranormal.
haul him off to the Lubyanka prison. The next day, the interrogator walks in and says, look, you might as well talk. We caught your friend Tchaikovsky, and he's already spilling his guts.
Which is funny because Tchaikovsky had been dead for 50 years.
Details. But it sets up the structure. The dilemma is a trap. Imagine you and I are the prisoners. We are in separate cells. We cannot talk to each other. We have two choices. Cooperate with each other, which means stay silent, or betray each other, which means confess.
Okay, I'm visualizing the interrogation room. Metal table, flickering light. Give me the numbers. What is the payoff?
Scenario 1. We both stay silent. The police don't have enough evidence for the big crime, so they get us on a minor charge. We both get 3 years in prison.
3 years. Okay, survivable.
Scenario 2. I stay silent, but you confess. You betray me. The police reward you for your testimony. You get a slap on the wrist. 1 year. But me, I get the book thrown at me. I get 25 years.
Oof. 25 years is a life sentence, essentially. And vice versa.
Yes. If I confess and you stay silent, I get 1 year, you get 25.
And scenario 3, we both confess.
If we both confess, the testimony cancels out a bit, but we're both guilty. We both get 10 years.
Okay, let's play this out. I am sitting in my cell. I'm sweating. I am trying to decide what to do. I have to think about what you are doing.
Right. Look at it from your purely selfish perspective. Suppose you think, I'm going to stay silent. What should you do?
If you stay silent, I can stay silent and get 3 years. Or I can confess and get 1 year. Well, 1 is better than 3. So I should confess.
Okay, now suppose you think I am going to confess. What should you do?
If you confess, I can stay silent and get 25 years. Yikes. Or I can confess and get 10 years. Well, 10 is better than 25, so I should confess.
Do you see the trap?
I see it. No matter what you do, whether you are silent or you confess, my best move is always to confess. It's my dominant strategy.
And my best move is always to confess too. So what happens? We both confess. We both get 10 years.
Even though if we had just kept our mouths shut, we could have walked away with 3 years.
That is the tragedy of the prisoner's dilemma. Individual rationality leads to collective disaster. By trying to save our own skins, we end up with a worse outcome than if we had cooperated.
And this isn't just about hypothetical prisoners. The authors make a chilling comparison to the Cold War.
It was the exact same matrix. The U.S. and the USSR. Choice A, disarm. Choice B, build nukes. If we both disarm, we save trillions of dollars and the world is safe. That is the 3-year outcome.
But if I disarm and you build nukes, you dominate the world and I am completely defenseless. The 25-year outcome.
So because neither side can trust the other not to cheat.
We both build nukes. We both spend trillions. We both live in terror of annihilation, the 10-year sentence. It is a stable outcome, but it's a terrible one.
This idea of, I can't trust you, so I have to protect myself, leads perfectly into the next story. It's a variation of this dilemma called belling the cat.
The hostage's dilemma.
Or the many-person dilemma. The fable goes, a group of mice are terrorized by a cat. They hold a meeting. One young mouse says, I have a plan. Let's tie a bell around the cat's neck, then we will hear him coming and we can hide.
Genius.
Everyone applauds. Great plan. But then an old mouse stands up and asks, who is going to put the bell on the cat?
Silence.
Because the benefit of the bell is shared by everyone. But the risk of getting eaten falls entirely on the one mouse who tries to do it.
The authors tell a story about Nikita Khrushchev that illustrates this human behavior perfectly. It is almost cinematic.
It is. So Khrushchev is the leader of the Soviet Union after Stalin dies. He gives this famous secret speech where he denounces Stalin. He lists the purges, the executions, the terror. It is shocking stuff.
And someone in the audience interrupts him.
Yes. A voice from the back of the hall shouts out, you were one of his top men. You were there. Why didn't you stop him?
Imagine the tension in that room. You could hear a pin drop. This is a dictator you are heckling.
Khrushchev looks up. He is furious. He barks. Who said that? Stand up.
Nobody moves.
The silence stretches on. Agonizing seconds. Everyone is terrified. Finally, Khrushchev relaxes, smiles, and says, that is what I did too.
That gives me chills. Absolute chills.
It explains perfectly why dictatorships survive, or why bad corporate cultures persist. Everyone hates the status quo. Everyone wants to revolt. But the first person to stand up gets eaten by the cat, so nobody stands up.
The authors bring this down to earth with a really funny, relatable example about taxi dispatchers at an airport.
Right. Imagine a corrupt dispatcher. He forces drivers to pay him a bribe to get the good trips, the long fares to the suburbs. If you don't pay, you get the short trips.
The drivers all hate it. They are losing money.
Now, if they all got together, if 100 drivers marched into the office and said no more bribes, the dispatcher would be powerless. He can't fire everyone. The system would change.
But he doesn't need to fight everyone.
No. He just needs to punish the one guy who tries to start it.
Okay, I'm the driver. I say I'm not paying.
Fine, says the dispatcher. Here are the keys to car 402, the one with no air conditioning that smells like vomit. And you are taking a little old lady 2 blocks down the street. Enjoy your $3 fare.
And I'm thinking, man, I can't afford to lose a day's wages. So I pay the bribe.
The dispatcher turns the drivers into hostages. He uses the threat of individual punishment to prevent collective action. It is the belling the cat problem in real life.
So, is there any way out? If the game is rigged against cooperation, how do you win?
Sometimes the only way to win is to be completely irrational, or at least to convince everyone that you are. This brings us to the strategy of intransigence.
Stubbornness.
Weaponized stubbornness. Think of Martin Luther, starting the Protestant Reformation. The Catholic Church, the most powerful institution on earth, tells him to recant. Take it back, or we burn you.
A rational person negotiates. Okay, I'll take back 50% of the theses if you let me live.
Luther says, here I stand. I cannot do otherwise. He frames it not as a choice, but as an impossibility. God won't let me. By cutting off his own ability to retreat, he forces the church to make the choice. Kill me and create a martyr, or let it slide.
We see this with Charles de Gaulle, the French president, too.
But General now, he was a master of this. He would negotiate with the U.S. and Britain. He would demand things for France that were totally unreasonable. But he created this persona that he was a man of such immense pride that he would literally rather watch France burn to the ground than accept a slight.
So the Allies are sitting there thinking, look, this guy's crazy. He won't swerve. If we don't swerve, we crash.
Exactly. It is the game of chicken. 2 cars driving at each other. The best way to win is to rip the steering wheel off your dashboard and throw it out the window so the other driver sees you do it.
I can't turn. You have to.
But then this is a huge, bold underlined warning in the book. Intransigence has a fatal flaw.
Ferdinand de Lesseps.
The man who built the Suez Canal. He used this exact strategy. He was stubborn. He ignored the engineers who said it can't be done. He willed the canal into existence through the sand. He became a global hero.
So he decides to do it again in Panama.
He goes to Panama. He says, I will build a sea-level canal. No locks. The engineers say, sir, there are mountains here. There's torrential rain. There is malaria. You need locks.
And de Lesseps says, I am de Lesseps. The sand yielded to me. The mountains will yield to me.
He threw his steering wheel out the window. But here is the problem. The mountain is not a rational player. The mosquito is not a rational player.
They are the lumberjack's tree.
Exactly. You cannot play a game of chicken with a mountain. The mountain will not swerve. The project collapsed. Thousands of workers died. Investors lost everything. De Lesseps died in disgrace.
That is such a critical distinction. Intransigence works against people because people can reason and back down. It is suicide against nature or reality.
Correct. Know your opponent?
Okay, we have covered the myths. We have covered the dilemmas. Now it's time for the nuts and bolts. The authors give us 3 primary rules for strategic thinking. They divide all games into 2 types, sequential and simultaneous. Let's start with sequential.
Sequential is easy to visualize. It is I move, then you move, then I move. Like chess, like tic-tac-toe, like a negotiation where we trade offers.
And for this, we have rule 1, look ahead and reason back.
It sounds simple, but it is the golden rule. You cannot decide what to do now based on the situation now. You have to project the movie forward to the very end, figure out the final outcome, and then reason backward to the present to make your move.
The authors use Charlie Brown and Lucy as the mascot for this rule.
Poor Charlie Brown. Every year, Lucy holds the football. She says, come on, Charlie Brown, kick it.
And every year, he stands there debating, should I, shouldn't I? She pulled it away last year, but maybe this year she's changed. Maybe she is sincere.
He is focused on the present. He's hoping. But hope is not a strategy. If you use rule 1, he would look ahead to the moment of the kick. He would ask, at the moment I swing my foot, what is Lucy's incentive?
Her incentive is to yank the ball away and watch him land on his back, because she is a sociopath who enjoys his pain.
Right. That is her payoff. It is better for her to pull it than to hold it. So, looking ahead, he knows with 100% certainty that she will pull the ball. Therefore, reasoning back to the present, his only logical move is to say, no thanks, and walk away.
But he never learns. Now, let's apply this reasoning back to a business negotiation, because the authors have this melting ice cream example that I found really trippy.
This is a great way to understand leverage. So let's role play. Imagine there's an ice cream pie on the table. It is melting. If we don't eat it, it disappears.
Okay. I'm hungry. Let's eat.
We have to agree on how to split it.
Yeah.
Here are the rules. Step 1, let's call you Ali, make me an offer. If I accept, we eat. If I reject, we wait 1 minute. Half the pie melts.
Okay, so delay is expensive.
Right. Step 2, I, Baba, make you an offer for what is left.
Now, imagine there's only one step. If I reject your offer, the pie is gone instantly.
You have all the power. You can offer me 1% for you, 99% for me.
And you have to take it because 1% is better than 0.
Exactly. In a one-step game, the fourth mover takes it all. But now, let's add step 2. If I reject you, half the pie remains, and I get to make the offer.
Okay, so in step 2, you become the dictator. You can demand 99% of the remaining half.
Right. And 99% of the remaining half is basically half the original pie. So look ahead. You know that if we go to step 2, I can guarantee myself half the pie.
So if I want you to accept my offer in step 1, I have to give you at least what you can get in step 2.
Precisely. You have to offer me half the pie now. If you offer me less, I will just say no, wait for it to melt, and take my half anyway.
So the fact that I know you have power in the future forces me to be fair in the present?
Yes. That is reasoning back. The potential future moves dictate the current terms. And the math shows that as you add more steps, the split inevitably converges on 50-50. Splitting the difference isn't just nice, it is the equilibrium outcome of a sequential bargaining game.
This logic also applies to geopolitics. The authors talk about the deterrence chain.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Let's trace this map. We have Sudan, Libya, Egypt, and Israel. This is based on the 80s political map, obviously.
Right, it is a chain. Sudan is weak, Libya is strong and aggressive. Why doesn't Libya invade Sudan?
A lumberjack would say maybe Libya isn't hungry. A strategist looks at the next link, Egypt.
Libya shares a border with Egypt. Egypt is a powerhouse. If Libya sends its army south into Sudan, it leaves its eastern flank exposed.
So Libya is afraid of Egypt, but why is Egypt dangerous? We have to look at Egypt's other neighbor, Israel.
If Egypt and Israel are enemies, if they are at each other's throats, then Egypt is distracted. Egypt cannot attack Libya because it is worried about Israel.
And if Egypt is distracted, Libya feels safe.
And if Libya feels safe, Sudan is in big trouble.
Whoa. So Sudan's safety literally depends on whether Israel and Egypt are fighting.
Yes. In a sequential chain, the links affect each other in an alternating pattern, even versus odd. If Israel and Egypt sign a peace treaty, which they did going to be, Egypt is suddenly free to turn its attention to Libya, Libya gets scared, and suddenly Sudan is safe.
A peace treaty in Jerusalem saves lives in Khartoum.
That is the interconnectedness of strategy. You cannot just look one link away. You have to reason back from the end of the chain.
We also see this in business with the new cleaners versus fast cleaners example.
Oh yes, the incumbent versus the entrant. A new firm, New Cleaners, wants to enter a market held by a monopoly, Fast Cleaners.
We have to build the game tree.
Right. If New Cleaners enters, Fast Cleaners has two choices. Accommodate, which means share the market, or fight, which means start a brutal price war.
So New Cleaners has to reason back. They have to estimate Fast Cleaners' profits.
Exactly. If a price war hurts Fast Cleaners more than simply sharing the market, New Cleaners should predict accommodation and enter the market confidently.
But what if Fast Cleaners wants to build a tough reputation for other markets?
Then they might choose to fight, even if it hurts them locally. In that case, reasoning back tells New Cleaners to stay out entirely.
It is all about anticipating the reaction to the reaction. Okay, that covers sequential games perfectly. Now let's talk about the other type, simultaneous games.
This is where we move at the same time. I cannot see your move before I make mine. Think of a sealed bid auction or a football play. The offense snaps the ball, the defense blitzes. Neither knows for sure what the other is doing until it happens.
So we cannot reason back because the future hasn't happened yet.
Correct. In this world, we have to see through the rival's strategy. We have to be Sherlock Holmes. And we have two rules here. Rule 2, if you have a dominant strategy, use it.
Let's define dominant strategy.
It is a move that leaves you better off no matter what the opponent does. It is the magic bullet.
The authors use Indiana Jones for this. The Last Crusade.
I love this example. Indiana is at the end of the movie. He has to pick the Holy Grail. The villain shoots his dad, Sean Connery. Connery is dying.
Yeah.
Indiana has to pick a cup, fill it with the water, and save his dad.
The suspense is incredibly high. Indiana picks a cup, he dips it in the water, and then he drinks from it himself.
The audience gasps. He tests it. He lives. Then he gives it to his dad. It is a great dramatic moment. But strategically, it is awful.
Why?
Let's break it down. Scenario A, he picked the right cup.
Okay.
If he gives it to his dad first, his dad is healed. If he drinks it first, he is healed. Then he gives it to his dad, and his dad is healed.
Yeah.
The outcome is the same. Everyone lives.
Okay. Scenario B, he picked the wrong cup.
If he drinks it first, he dies instantly.
Oh.
Now his dad is lying there, dying, with no one to help him. Game over.
Oh.
But if he gives it to his dad first, the dad dies. That's sad. But Indiana's still alive. He has a chance to realize his mistake, pick another cup, and maybe save himself or escape with the grail.
So giving the cup to his dad immediately was the dominant strategy. It is equal in the good scenario and strictly better in the bad scenario.
Exactly. Testing it on himself was pure Hollywood drama. It added risk for zero gain. Rule 2 says if you have a move that is strictly better, don't overthink it. Just do it.
Let's look at a business example of this. Time versus Newsweek.
Imagine it is a Monday. Both magazines have to pick a cover story. They cannot call each other to coordinate. They have two choices: a story about AIDS, which is huge news, or a story about the budget, which is boring.
The market research says 70% of readers want the AIDS story, 30% want the budget story.
Okay, let's be Time magazine. If Newsweek picks AIDS and we pick AIDS, we split the market. We get 35% each.
Right.
If Newsweek picks AIDS and we pick budget, we get the whole budget audience, 30%.
So 35 is better than 30. If they pick AIDS, we should definitely pick AIDS.
Now let's flip it. Suppose Newsweek picks budget. If we pick AIDS, we get the whole AIDS audience, 70%.
And if we pick budget, we split the budget audience, 15%.
70 is way better than 15. So look at the result. If Newsweek goes AIDS, we should go AIDS. If Newsweek goes budget, we should go AIDS.
Picking the AIDS cover is a dominant strategy. We don't even need to know what they are doing. We just play our best hand.
But wait. If both magazines follow this logic, they both pick AIDS. They both get 35%.
Right. But if they had colluded, if one took AIDS for 70% and one took budget for 30%, they could have captured 100% of the market between them. By competing, they leave money on the table.
Welcome to the harsh reality of simultaneous games. Without a contract, the dominant strategy forces head-to-head competition.
Okay, that is rule 2. But what if I don't have a magic bullet? What if nothing is clearly better?
Then you move to rule 3. Eliminate dominated strategies.
Dominated basically means stupid.
Rush, but fair. A dominated strategy is one that is always worse than another option you have.
The authors use football for this. Offense versus defense. Imagine the defense has 3 plays: anti-run, anti-pass, and the blitz.
Now suppose the data shows that the blitz is just terrible against this specific team. Maybe the offense has a really quick quarterback.
Okay, so if the offense runs, the blitz gives up 10 yards, the anti-run only gives up 2 yards.
And if the offense passes, the blitz gives up 20 yards. The anti-pass only gives up 5 yards.
So the blitz is always worse. It never wins in any scenario.
So rule 3 says take the blitz play out of your playbook, rip the page out, throw it in the trash. It does not exist.
Okay, that is helpful for the defense, but how does this help the offense?
This is the Sherlock Holmes part. The offense knows the defense isn't stupid. The offense thinks they are rational, therefore they will not blitz.
So the offense can mentally cross out blitz from the defense's option.
Right. Now the game is smaller. It is just run versus pass against anti-run versus anti-pass. You have eliminated the impossible. Whatever remains is the game you're actually playing. You whittle it down until the solution reveals itself.
It's a process of elimination. You assume the other guy will not make a clearly stupid mistake, and that simplifies your own decision.
Exactly.
All right. We have arrived at the final exam. We have our rules. Look ahead. Find dominant strategies. Eliminate dominated strategies. Now, we're going to apply all of this to one of the most controversial plays in college football history.
Part 5. The Grand Case Study. The 1984 Orange Bowl.
Set the stage for us.
It is January 2nd, 1984. Nebraska Cornhuskers versus Miami Hurricanes. Nebraska is an absolute juggernaut. They are undefeated. Their offense is literally called the scoring explosion. They are ranked #1 in the country.
And the rules of college football at the time are crucial here. There is no overtime, and rankings are determined by a poll.
Right. So if Nebraska ties the game, they remain undefeated. They almost certainly stay #1. They win the national championship. They do not need to win this game. A tie is a win for them.
But the game starts, and Miami just punches them in the mouth.
Miami plays out of their minds. Fourth quarter, Nebraska is down 31-17. It looks completely over. But then the Nebraska machine wakes up. They march down the field. touchdown.
Okay, score is 31-23. There are minutes left on the clock. In college football, after a touchdown, you have a choice.
Right. Kick the extra point for 1 point. It's easy, almost automatic. Or go for the 2-point conversion for 2 points. It is risky. Let's call it a 50-50 shot.
So Coach Tom Osborne is on the sideline. He is down 31-23. He decides to kick the extra point.
It's a safe play. He gets the point. Score is 31-24. He needs one more touchdown to survive.
Nebraska gets the ball back. 48 seconds left. They drive. Turner Gill throws a pass. Touchdown.
The stadium is shaking. The score is 31-30. There are seconds left on the clock.
This is the moment. Osborne gathers the team. He has the choice again. Kick the extra point, tie the game 31-31, and win the national championship. Or go for 2, win the game 32-31, or lose the game 31-30.
Osborne is a man of principle. He later said he didn't want to back into a championship. He wanted to win outright. He holds up 2 fingers. They're going for the win.
They snap the ball. Turner Gill rolls out. He throws. It's batted away. Incomplete.
Miami wins. Nebraska loses everything. It was a tragedy for Cornhusker fans.
Now, most people admire the guts. They say, he played to win. But game theory has a very different take.
Game theory says Osborne made a massive strategic error. But, and listen closely, the error wasn't going for 2 at the end. The error was kicking the extra point earlier.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me the coach should have risked the entire season on the first touchdown when they're down by 8 points? That sounds insane. If he misses that, he is down by 8, and he needs 2 scores.
Let's use Rule 1. Look ahead and reason back. Let's play out the 2 scenarios.
Okay, scenario A, the Osborne plan. Wait until the end.
He kicks a first point, safe. He scores the second touchdown. He goes for 2 at the end. Outcome, he has 1 coin flip. 50% chance to win, 50% chance to lose. He has a 50% probability of taking the title.
Now, scenario B, the game theory plan. Risk early.
He scores the first touchdown, scores 31-23. He goes for 2 right now.
Okay, branch 1, he makes it.
Scores 31-25. Now he scores the second touchdown for 6 points. That makes it 31-31. He kicks the safe extra point for 1 point. That makes it 32-31. He wins. He doesn't need a risky play at the end.
Wow. If he makes the 2-point conversion early, he secures the win with a safe kick later.
But branch 2, he misses the 2-point conversion early. Score stays 31-23. He's still down by 8.
Right. But the game isn't over. He scores the second touchdown. Now it is 31-29. He still has a chance to save the title. He can go for 2 again.
Oh, I see it. If he makes it the second time, it is 31-31, a tie. And a tie wins the championship.
Exactly. Do you see the math? In the Osborne plan, he has 1 do-or-die roll at the end. In the game theory plan, he gives himself 2 shots.
If he makes the first one, he wins. If he misses the first one, he can still tie and win the title on the second one.
So by taking the risk early, he gave himself a safety net.
Yes. The probability of losing the title drops significantly. The lesson is, if you are the underdog or if you are chasing points, take your risks as early as possible. Like a tennis player hitting a hard first serve.
If you miss, you have a second serve.
If you hit a soft first serve and then try to crush the second serve, well, you are Tom Osborne.
That is truly mind-blowing. Playing it safe early was actually the riskiest thing he could do because he burned his recovery time.
It completely changes how you watch sports and how you manage projects. If you have a risky component in a project, do it first. Don't save it for the night before the deadline.
So we have learned to reason back, to use our dominant strategies, and to risk early. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to end with the story you told me off air, the Jerusalem taxi story, because I think it's the perfect caveat to everything we've just discussed.
It really is. So 2 economists, actual game theorists, are in Jerusalem. They need a taxi. They find a driver, but he refuses to turn on the meter. He says, "I give you good price, my friends."
Red flag number 1.
They get to the destination. The meter should have read maybe 20 shekels. The driver demands 2,500 shekels, or whatever the currency conversion was. It was an outrageous amount.
Total extortion.
The economists know the game. They bargain. They offer 2,200.
Which is still way too much, but they're being rational. They just want to get out. 2,200 is better for the driver than 0. A rational general would take the money.
But the driver isn't a general. He is a human being. He gets offended. He screams that 2,200 is an insult to his honor. He locks the door.
He locks the doors.
He locks the doors. He spins the car around. He drives back to the starting point at breakneck speed, running red lights, terrifying the economists. He drives all the way back, unlocks the doors, and screams, "Get out!" See how far your 2,200 shekels get you now.
Wow. So he spent gas, he spent time, he risked his car just to make sure he got 0 instead of 2,200.
Because his pride, his anger, was part of his payoff matrix. To him, winning the argument was worth more than the cash.
And that is the final thought for our listeners. You can map out the game tree perfectly. You can know the math. You can know the dominant strategy. But if you ignore the human element, if you forget that sometimes people would rather crash the car than lose the argument, you might just end up back where you started.
Sometimes the smartest strategy is just to pay the extra few dollars and not get kidnapped.
Words to live by. So next time you are in a meeting or watching a game or just arguing over where to go for dinner, try to spot the game. Are you a lumberjack or a general? Look ahead. Reason back. And maybe, just maybe, let the other person win on the small stuff so they don't lock the doors.
Sound advice.
Thanks for diving in with us. We will catch you on the next deep dive.